Hey folks, we'd like to welcome Carzing.com that's sponsoring every single video we are making in the month of October. Car shopping does not have to be dreadful, and you can avoid spending unnecessary time at the dealership with Carzing. Carzing combines all the tools necessary to buy a car into one handy place. Here's what you do. You go to carzing.com/TheSmokingTire. Once you're there, you can search millions of new and used cars and trucks and get pre-qualified with real rates, saving time at the dealership. What's the best part? There's no impact on your credit score, and you can customize the terms of your finance all online from the comfort of your own home. Save time at the dealership by going to carzing.com/TheSmokingTire. Hit the link in our video description, and thanks to Carzing for sponsoring the entire month of October. Hey folks, welcome back out to the Rower Flats off-road park. We just finished going up a very steep and gnarly trail in the Bronco. We had intended to attempt the trail in this, but upon seeing the conditions of the trail, we would break the shit out of this thing if we even tried it. I mean, it would be a disaster if we tried it.
At best, we wouldn't have made it.
At best, we would. Right. Yeah. Best case scenario is we'd have to reverse down something very shady.
Very steep.
Worst case scenario, every body panel would have been
and the CVT would just go.
Yeah. So but we don't want to start on a negative. It just means we're doing a little different thing. This is the Outback Wilderness. It's the first Subaru Outback I have driven in 10 years.
Really?
2010 or 11 years. 2010 was the last Outback I drove. It was the H6, the six-cylinder one. I didn't love it. This new generation Outback, I think, is actually pretty great. The Wilderness version of it, as someone, I think, on Jalopnik very eloquently put it, it's the Outback version of the Outback. Which is the best way to describe it, right? It has the same 2.4-liter turbo Boxer 4 engine, 260 horsepower at 5,600 RPM, and 277 pound-feet of torque from 2,000 to 4,800. It weighs just under 3,900 pounds. It has a CVT that can simulate an 8-speed automatic gearbox, and it seems to choose which it's doing at its own discretion sometimes. But as you can see, it has a lift on it. It's got 9.5 inches of ground clearance.
It's 0.8 inches higher than the standard Outback.
Right. But because they've raised the front and rear fascias for better approach and departure angles, it looks even higher than it is.
It does. The improvements are like between 1.4 and 1.9 on approach, breakover, and departure. So no huge drastic thing, but that can matter.
Right. It's got off-road tires, Yoko Geolander tires, 225/65/17s. It's got a front skid plate. It has this X mode, which is what Subaru is calling their terrain system, with normal, deep snow or mud, snow or dirt settings, and so you've got a few options there. The fabric on the seat, they're calling it StarTex. It is a water repellent fabric.
Yeah, it's like a leatherette type of thing, but you can like wash it out, I guess, a little bit easier.
I don't know how it'll age, but it feels kind of nice.
Yeah, it does.
According to Subaru, you can tow 3,500 pounds with it. It's got tow hooks on the front and rear bumpers. It has the ladder type roof rack, which can hold a rooftop tent.
Right, it can hold like 220 pounds when you're driving or 700 when you're stopped. So
which
rooftop tent.
That pretty much says tent to me. Yeah.
If you sleep 4 in a rooftop tent, that's an interesting evening.
Yeah. And other than that, it's standard Outback fare. As tested is 40,000, 39,990. It starts at 37,000. So a lot of car for the money.
Yep. And
while we're not going to do a crazy off-road trail, we're going to drive down the fire road trail, which is more like what an owner would do with this vehicle. This is the off-road practice area. So I'm just going to drive through these ruts.
Yeah.
And just to show you that it can get through these deep rutted areas ish.
Yeah,
that was the skid plate.
That was what the skid plate's for.
Skid plate at work.
The breakover isn't amazing, but it is improved.
Right.
I mean, these are pretty sizable ruts.
I'm gonna go up these ruts here.
Let's see
if we can do it.
There's also a good test for the CVT to see how it handles this extra load of going up a hill and a little bit of wheel spin. And we're in normal mode. We're not in snow dirt, which snow dirt is meant to reduce wheel slip and be like really precisely manage the traction, whereas deep snow mud adds more wheel spin to keep you moving so you don't lose momentum.
So right away, it handles those ruts really nicely. And actually I have to say that when going over these ruts, these more basic ruts here in the practice area, compared to the Bronco, because it's just what we got right out of, the ride is really good.
Absolutely. As soon as I drove down in here to film the beauty shots, I was like, wow, this ride's much better on this stuff. Now, keep in mind, the Bronco we have is the Outer Banks. It's not one of the Sasquatch or higher level ones that have the Bilsteins in it, but we noticed it felt very stiff. It bounced you quite a lot, whereas this rides over everything pretty nicely.
Yeah, the Bronco was extremely capable, but the ride was not very refined on the fire roads, whereas this car, right away, I feel like it's designed for fire roads because of how good the ride is in that, testing that skid plate, in that type of environment. So as we just cross over these ruts here, look, it does it really nicely.
It does.
And it feels like the shock tuning is actually quite good for those types of rutted dirt roads.
Yes. And we're testing the skid plate, but another thing they've done here is
Want to test the breakover?
Yeah, we should.
I'm just going to drive right over.
20.
That's not going to work.
You have to go at an angle for sure.
I'm definitely going to have to.
Even the Bronco would get stuck on that, I think.
Hey!
There we go.
Hey!
Two-wheel motion, yeah.
It did it. All right, sorry.
Symmetrical all-wheel drive, doing its thing. So the cladding is meant to protect the car and the painted surfaces. So there's a lot more flat black plastic front and rear, so that if you scrape that side instead of the skid plate, you're not like, oh my god, I just ruined my paint job. How am I gonna get this repaired?
Right. When the Outback first came out in '95, with the Paul Hogan commercials and everything, I was so stoked. I don't know why. I really liked the vibe, the idea of an off-road wagon. That seemed so cool to me. I thought the details that they had done to it to make it look beefier were like awesome.
You were a forward-thinking 13-year-old.
I was. Everyone must have agreed to me. So many people that I went to high school with and stuff ended up getting Outbacks. So many parents of those kids got Outbacks. My sister drove an Outback in high school. That actually was one of my favorite cars that my family had ever had. Actually, it was like a 2003 maybe or 4, and it was great. And this one, I think, continues the tradition. As every other car has become crossovered around it, we needed to make this a little more Outback.
Right, because it was ahead of all the other cars in being a lifted wagon, and then crossovers, which are really lifted wagons, have caught up, so it had to kind of keep up with the Joneses and catch back up again.
So what's impressive here is the way the cabin is getting isolated from what's happening underneath. I mean, yes, you can see us bouncing around a little bit, but compared to the dedicated off-road vehicle we just drove, this is really isolating the cabin far better than that on this rutted fire road.
It really is. I really feel like we are floating along on this, on like a gentle stream, versus the Bronco. We were feeling and then watching the thing tilt over every little bump and rut. And this is just kind of like gliding along, and the seats are comfortable.
I'm not sure what shock Subaru is using here. They say all the press release said is revised suspension for extra height. I don't know if it's some kind of special shock or if it's just taller. But if you were driving up and down fire roads a lot, something like this would probably be better than a dedicated SUV.
Yeah, this makes it a much nicer trip to this is to help get you to the trailhead, or maybe do a really mild trail to go to a camping spot, whereas the Bronco is meant to conquer the trail.
Right.
But man, this is a very different experience to ride.
I like the seats a lot. Really comfortable.
They are.
They remind me of the Lexus IS seats. They have adjustable bolstering, and that technical fabric, or whatever you want to call that stuff, it feels nice against my back and my butt.
Yeah, I feel like it's holding me in place too. It's got a little bit of a grip to it, which is nice.
Steering wheel itself, the leather on it is one of the only kind of cheap feeling things in this car. I don't love it, but the steering is light. I can feel what's happening up front. It's not a shining example of steering feel, but it's certainly precise enough to get the job done.
It's a very roomy vehicle. You have a lot of room to the ceiling, and I sat behind myself earlier, and I had plenty of knee and leg room.
It's a big car. Interesting to note that if you look at the spec sheet in the glove box, Subaru themselves, under the column body style, put SUV.
Yeah, they call it an SUV. It's 192 inches long overall, so it is a big vehicle.
Yeah. This ride quality on this fire road is very good. This is a company that's built rally cars.
Yes. Yeah,
You know what I
that's a
mean?
good point.
This company knows about maintaining a pace on a mildly bumpy washboard road. This is good.
This is really good.
Really good.
I know we keep saying it, but it continues to be amazing.
And the turn in, like lift, turn, yes. Can I wag the dog a little bit? Yeah, okay, there we go.
This is a pretty impressive thing.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive thing.
Lift, turn, brake.
Yeah,
you can rotate.
Like, I like that it starts at 38 grand. It comes with a lot of stuff. Some of the only options are the skid plates, the sunroof, and like the rear heated seats.
The only options this has is sunroof and rear heated seats. That's it.
They don't offer that many of them.
Yeah.
It doesn't offer. You can't get cooled seats in this, for the record, which is kind of a bummer. And again, like this media system is really slow, and the icons in it look like a bus stop ad to me, or like a Nickelodeon webpage. It's just like huge colors, cartoony, round-looking buttons. It reacts really slowly. That needs an update. And considering this car was all new in 2020, I am surprised that the screen is so slow.
The CVT, it has a mind of its own. What I'm doing, it doesn't really seem to correlate to what the tachometer is showing.
Regular Outback.
He can't handle this trail at this pace.
He's
Now,
not ready.
Tarmac, okay? So, we've got off-road tires, a raised suspension. How does it handle the Tarmac? Pretty much fine.
Should be.
I don't, like I said, I haven't driven a regular Outback in a while, but it has a bit of that floatiness like I remember from my Safari 911.
Yes. I would say it has that on the road, and which translated to the dirt. This has a very Lincoln Continental floating, wafting kind of ride to it, which
but that's not bad.
No. I found to be very, very comfortable. And they did a good job of making the engine really quiet. The CVT is quiet. I think Subaru has one of the most advanced CVTs in the market. And you don't hear it going and trying to find the right ratio and all that stuff.
So that's what's interesting about this CVT is that I think it knows when acting like a CVT would be annoying to you. Seriously. And because there's sometimes when I'm accelerating, like on the highway, where it really does this thing that feels like it kicks down a gear, and then it goes up and it does a quick, like it's doing a gear change, even though I haven't put it in manual mode or anything. So I think that Subaru knows that we don't want that, and it's tried to figure out how to not do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Instead of the rev hang. Which does beg the question, if it's going to act like an automatic and make the sounds of an automatic, why not just have an automatic? Because if we're going up that trail or a more difficult trail, then it may struggle a bit. Because you can only put so much torque on a CVT these days before it starts to like spin and slip.
Right.
And that's when you can have a problem trying to go up a hill.
It occurred to me that we're at the bottom of this road now and you didn't drive, but...
That's okay, but I think we already did 15 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. I think
it's very comfortable. It drives nice. If you like Outbacks, you'll like this. The competition, it should be said, like the Cherokee Trailhawk will have is much better off-roading, and like yes, this approach angle is improved, but the Trailhawk is 9 degrees better.
That's a lot.
This is like a Zamboni by comparison.
Yeah.
So that's like 30 degrees. This is 21 or something like that. So it's that or the RAV4, but this will feel like a newer car because the Cherokee came out or was built in like 2014.
Like I wouldn't buy this compared to like a super off-roader, but I would definitely buy it. I wouldn't consider a regular Outback anymore. This is the one I would buy.
This is $1,800 more than the Outback Onyx, which has the X. Basically, they make one that has the X modes and all of the other stuff without the lift kit.
Oh.
So for $1,800, you get a lift kit, a skid plate,
and the tires,
and like all the bronze kind of cladding in the tires.
I think that's a package worth getting. This is a nice car. I mean, I've been driving it around, and I really enjoyed driving it. I thought maybe we'd try it up that gnarly trail. It won't do it. There's no way. But fire roads. I mean, we did a fire road trip a couple months ago, and if I had this thing on those fire roads, it would have been killer. It would have been awesome.
It would have done the whole trip.
It would have done the whole trail.
Done the BDR for sure.
It definitely would make it through a backcountry discovery route. It would be great as your snow car, your winter car, your ski car. And they've done a really nice job making this a big, comfy, cushy, feature-laden, pseudo luxury automobile for under $40,000. And the camera will dictate when this video has ended. So that's our video, folks. You'll see us fade out.
Dissolve.
Thank you to Subaru for letting us have a go. I'm sorry we've just overheated our brand 1 day old new GoPro 8. And bye.
And remember, always fight your tickets. Use code TST10 on the Off the Record app available in the Android and iOS store, or go to offtherecord.com/TST.